It's time for Live starts right now with more news. Brooklyn is Live starts right now.
That this person should be
Welcome
charged
into Brooklyn
with
News Live. We're beginning this hour with breaking news as you take a look right now live at Washington, D.C. This is attorney for the District of Columbia for the United States, Jeanine Pirro, delivering a press conference right now on the pool, the reflecting pool, announcing an indictment of that former Olympian. Let's begin listening in here.
Yes, you again. Go ahead.
Could you please explain the bench warrant that was issued for his arrest? Is Mr. Hearn being arrested today?
Do we have a... Yeah, he's not being arrested. No. Yeah. Yeah. No!
Superior versus...
Yeah.
Did the grand jury unanimously return the true bill?
I don't take a check of unanimous versus non-unanimous, and as soon as they give me a right to do that, I'd be happy to do that, but I don't have that right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great 4th.
Like threat environment ahead of the 4th, is there anything you're tracking?
I'm not tracking anything in terms of a threat environment. I'm not tracking anything in terms of a threat environment. We're all hoping that Americans are able to celebrate, whether they're in D.C. or around the country. I mean, this is a wonderful, wonderful holiday. It's not just any 4th of July. This is a big one. And I hope you and your families, I hope you don't have to work, everybody, and I hope you can enjoy. Thank you.
On the teen takeovers, do you have any cases you're reviewing on parents? You had said you might
Yeah, we've reviewed a few.
think you might be able to bring.
We've reviewed several of them. I'll probably do a presser on that in the future. Thank you. All right, everybody. Happy 4th.
Thanks.
Alrighty, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, there delivering a press conference. It all goes back to the reflecting pool that we have covered so much. Welcome into Brooklyn News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell. I know we kind of had a very, very quick introduction, and we're running a few minutes late there, but we did want to get to that live breaking news coverage there. Again, you're also probably noticing our brand new graphics. So much going on. We're going to get to all of it. There is a lot happening today. But again, just announced was that U.S. Olympian canoeist Davy Hearn has been indicted on a single count of destruction of property following his arrest. This occurred late last month. This was in reference to the reflecting pool incident. Of course, we know the president had kind of alluded to, that's the word I'm looking for, alluded that maybe he was the one, this Olympian was the one that did cut into the reflecting pool. We don't quite know. There have again been no evidence, no video evidence released showing any of this, but we have been following this very, very closely and will continue to do so. But again, for just a quick moment there, you heard attorney Jeanine Pirro there from Washington talk about all of this. You may also be noticing now our brand new graphics. It's good to be with you all. We're trying out a few new things, so you're going to probably notice a few errors here as we begin. Of course, it's still a work in process. Again, we're following the breaking news. We're able to change our graphics at any moment from blue to red for any breaking story. So that is, of course, something cool that we are able to do. Okay. Again, it is good to be with you. There's so much going on, you guys. Welcome to Brooklyn News Live. It is Thursday, July 2nd, 2026. I'm Jackson Mitchell. We want to, of course, use all of the graphics that we were able to use. It is good to be with you. We do want to start with another breaking story that is happening right this moment that we are following. It broke yesterday, right after Brooklyn News Live. That was the sentence of Blaze Taylor yesterday. He was sentenced to life in prison. This was by a Tennessee jury out of Nashville. Why this matters so much to all of us is he is a former Arkansas State University football player, an ex-Tennessee Titans scout, was found guilty of the murder and the deaths of his pregnant girlfriend, Jade Benning, and her unborn child, and sentenced the judge there the jury sentencing to life in prison. Benning, a Little Rock native, was 5 months pregnant when she was rushed to the hospital and died at 25 on her 25th birthday. Prosecutors allege Taylor intentionally poisoned her with a deadly dose of cocaine and alcohol during a date night at her apartment. Taylor, 30, had pled pleaded not guilty, rather, to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of felony murder. Bennett's family had hugged when these announcements were made that the jury again had found him guilty of 2 counts of felony murder. Take a look at the moments from the courtroom in Nashville here. This is the moment that this all happened. Please stand by with me here as I play it out for you.
We, the jury, find the defendant Blaze Allen Taylor for count 1, guilty of second-degree murder. For count 2, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. For count 3, guilty of first-degree felony murder during the commission of a felony. For count 4, guilty of first-degree felony murder during the commission of a felony.
So there you go. You hear the court ruling there. Of course, a moment of a lot of emotion there. Now, he does go for sentencing on September 9th. So that will be something that we will be watching for again on September 9th. Now, Taylor graduated twice from Arkansas State, earning both his bachelor's and master's degree in less than 4 years, and was one of just 8 students to receive a prestigious Distinguished Service Award from the university. Now, again, September 9th is the date of the sentencing here. It will determine whether he serves these. The judge will determine, again, whether those life sentences will be served consecutively or concurrently. So that is a story that we will be monitoring here at Brookland News, and will bring you updates on when we get them. A former Arkansas State University player there. Alrighty, now over to the Supreme Court. Some news that we were talking about, excuse the music there, and playing you yesterday. In a sharp rebuke to President Trump, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 on Tuesday that the Constitution guarantees automatic birthright citizenship to virtually all children born in the United States, delivering the final resolution to the case we've been covering right here on BNL since it began as Trump v. Barbara. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion, citing both the colonists' demanding for the, quote, rights of Englishmen and the abolishment's praise of, quote, the ancient and universal rule of citizenship by birth alone, writing, quote, citizenship then and now was the right to have rights, to freely participate in our political community, unquote. The ruling struck down Trump's day one executive order that would have denied automatic citizenship to children born on U.S. soil to parents who are undocumented or on temporary visas, affecting hundreds of thousands of babies born in America every year. The president reacted on Truth Social. Take a look here, saying the Supreme Court upheld birthright citizenship, which is too bad for our country. We can easily make it up, Congress, through legislation with the support of the president. That has now been determined during this process. No long and unwidely constitutional amendment is necessary. Congress should start today, rather, to work on ending expensive and unfair to our country birthright citizenship. They will have complete and total support. President Donald J. Trump there. So there you go. The president reacting to all of this in that post on Truth Social. Democrats, of course, also reacting. Want to play some video for you. This is going to be from lawmakers the day of this ruling from Capitol Hill earlier this week. Take a look.
I'm Greg Casada. I represent the heart of Texas in Congress. I'm chairman of the Progressive Caucus, and today we're here to stand up for a fundamental American principle, that if you're born in America, you are an American. No matter your parents' birthplace or language or creed, citizenship is a birthright in this country. No one is born a second-class citizen, and no president, no would-be king gets to pick and choose who is and who is not American. One people and equal justice for every single one of them. That is what Donald Trump was trying to undermine with his executive order. That the men and women who fought for the 14th Amendment knew the dangers of allowing people in power to pick and choose who does and does not have rights in this country. They had won a civil war to purge our country of the moral rot that follows when some people are deemed unworthy of equal rights. And today we say we will never go back.
Now, Justice Brett Kavanaugh agreed with the outcome, but wrote separately, saying he would have struck down Trump's executive order based on a 1952 law. But he also left open the possibility of Congress putting limits on babies born to people who are in the U.S. illegally or on temporary visas. Justice Clarence Thomas authored the lead dissent, which was 91 pages, agreeing with Trump's assertion that the 14th Amendment only applies to former slaves and their descendants. Trump called the ruling, quote, too bad for our country, as we just read there, and suggested Congress could pass legislation to limit who qualifies for citizenship at birth. So again, a story that we are going to follow. But legal experts here, they say the path is nearly impossible without a constitutional amendment, meaning for now, birthright citizenship is going to be here to stay. So that is also going to be a story we're following. Now, another one from the Supreme Court, trans sports bans here. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 on Tuesday that states may ban trans girls and women from competing on girls' and women's sports teams at publicly funded schools. So this one, another big one here to watch. Now, this is a major setback for LGBTQ rights in the court's final opinion day of the term here. It is something that we have been monitoring so closely as well since the beginning of all of this. And excuse me here, I'm preparing something for us really quickly here. I apologize about the quick pause here, because this is such a monumental ruling from the Supreme Court, again pushing yet another setback for the LGBTQ rights in the court's final opinion day. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote for the majority, saying under Title IX and the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause, states may determine whether trans women are eligible for girls' sports based on their biological sex. Quote, the Constitution and Title IX do not require an overhaul of women's and girls' sports throughout America. Kavanaugh wrote, adding that, quote, no student athlete or either side of the issue deserves to be ostracized or vilified. The ruling effectively upholds laws in Idaho and West Virginia and bolsters similar bans already on the books in 27 other states. The case is centered on two transgender student athletes, a 16-year-old West Virginia high schooler who competes in in shot put and discus, and is the only openly transgender athlete in any sport in the state, and a 25-year-old college student in Idaho who was sought to compete in track and cross-country history. Here is Riley Gaines, who has been so monumental on all of this, on the other side of things, saying, trans athletes should not play in these sports. Here is her opinion on all of this on TMZ.
Being banned from sports. Actually, it's pretty dishonest to say that someone is being banned. No one is being banned. Everyone can, and I'm the biggest advocate for everyone should participate in sports. What this ruling means is you are just permitted to participating in the category that aligns with your sex. So this ruling was great for girls who live in states like my home state of Tennessee, but not so good for, or I guess indifferent for girls in states like California, Washington, Oregon, Minnesota, Michigan, Maine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You guys know the states. So basically, fairness and safety depend on your zip code and your geography and where you live in the country.
I'm curious how much you're going to be at the battle, if there's going to be a battle in those states.
Absolutely. Of course, I personally will, with any means and measures necessary. But more than me personally, I hope that we see the Department of Justice and the Department of Education aggressively enforce existing federal law. Again, that federal law being Title IX against these institutions that continue to violate the rights of women and girls.
Now, the three liberal justices dissented, but notably on largely technical grounds here. And excuse me, I'm going to be kind of reading from my notes here. Justice Sonia Sotomayor accusing the majority of rushing to a conclusion without adequately considering all the facts. Sotomayor wrote, quote, "This litigation implicates deeply sensitive, contentious, and evolving issues," unquote. And that, quote, "these circumstances demand exercising judicial restraint." Now, notably here, again, all three justices actually agree with the conservatives that the bans do not violate Title IX, but they split only on the constitutional question here. Now, LGBTQ plus activists, they have called the ruling, quote, devastating, with the ACLU saying the court, quote, has turned its back on transgender youth who simply want to play sports with their peers, unquote. On the other side, women's sports advocates and Republican leaders that celebrated this ruling. President Trump posting on Truth Social, quote, "Big win. The United States Supreme Court just ruled against men playing in women's sports. Wow, that takes the ridiculous situation off the table." Now, the ruling is the latest in the string of losses for transgender athletes and transgender rights at the High Court following last year's decision upholding state bans on gender-affirming medical care for minors. Take a listen to this. This is analysis from CNN on this ruling and what the future of all of this could look like throughout several states. Take a listen.
More voters have an opinion on this issue than have ever been affected by this issue, which you noted from the statistics. But I will say, Democrats are in complete retreat on this issue. You have seen everyone from progressives like Adam Schiff to moderates like Alyssa Slotkin to Governor Newsom basically say some version of it's a version of fairness, or we need to leave it to localities, or we need to leave it to states. There are very few Democrats that are willing to say what they were willing to say 6 years ago, which was to advocate for trans women to play in women's sports.
How does it interact with the law?
So the key word, and Christine Brennan said this, is may, not must at this point, which is the states may now choose to outlaw this. The question is, will that become a must? And there will be a legal effort. There are some already underway to turn it into a must, because the ruling today was an interesting ruling. It was 9-0 with all the liberals joining that it is okay under Title IX to do this, to ban transgender athletes from women's sports. So if it's okay to ban them under Title IX, does it then follow that they must be banned under Title IX? So I promise you this issue, it'll take months or years to make its way up, but the next step is going to be to argue that you cannot allow transgender athletes to play in women's sports.
And where does a case like that come from? Does it come from someone in a state that doesn't ban them?
Yeah, it'll come from, it could arise up through any number of states to the district court. You could have multiple different rulings, sometimes contradictory rulings in different districts and then different circuits. That's what the Supreme Court's ultimately there for, to give us one unified final decision for the whole country.
Yeah, so clearly some contentious opinions there and great questions that are being proposed by that legal analyst there on CNN. I mean, what is the future of this? Is the future that they must be imposed? These bans must be imposed, not just that it's up to the states. I think the Supreme Court purposely left that a little vague, just saying that it is not our decision to do that, but yet it is the state's decision to determine who is going to play in those sports. Already, still to come right here on Brookland News Live, we have the latest on the war in Iran, what you need to know as gas prices are falling, but President Trump thinks they're not falling enough. But before that, we will talk about the latest financial report from President Trump saying, well, he gained over $2 billion in the last year. That is coming up right here on Brookland News Live. Stick with us. We've got so much more. And welcome back here into Brooklyn News Live. We are getting new information into President Trump's new financial disclosure. The annual financial disclosure report released on Tuesday, spanned nearly 1,000 pages, reveals the president earned a staggering $2.2 billion in 2025. That is up $622 million the year before and makes him, well, the wealthiest sitting president in American history by a massive margin. Now, the biggest driver here, crypto. $1.4 billion of that total came from cryptocurrency and meme coin related businesses, including more than $588 million from sales by World Liberty Financial, the crypto firm co-founded by Trump and his sons. And well, $635 million of that as well came from royalties from his Trump meme coin. The disclosure also includes $80 million in settlements tied to his lawsuits against companies including ABC, CBS, Meta, and YouTube. Reuters analysis found that the Trump's family crypto ventures ranked in at least $2.3 billion, as both the tokens and coins have plunged in values since the sales. So the president, he was pressed hard on this, as you would expect. We're going to get to that. First, I want to play a little bit of analysis and how rare this really is. This was on MS Now this morning. I want you to take a listen here. I believe we should have it here. Sorry, you guys. I'm looking for the video. I don't... Okay, doesn't look like we have the video right this moment. So what we're going to do for you, we're going to play President Trump reacting to this first, and then we will have on the other side of that the reaction from political analysts on this. Here is the president as he was pressed on his finances. This is yesterday at Joint Base Andrews.
Shows you had a very lucrative year last year. What message does this send to average Americans, especially those who may be
I don't get involved in my personal. We have funds that run my money.
But you are benefiting.
Well, I've made a lot of money before I became president, and they invest my money, and I don't talk to them. I don't even speak to them. So I have many people. I don't know what they call it, closed accounts or something. You put your money in, and that's it. I don't talk to them. They're big institutions, and they run it. But yeah, I've had a great career in business. I've had a great career. I don't know if I've had a better career in politics or business, but I had a great career in business. And, you saw the cash, and you report the different things. And what they do is, we gave it, I think it's called a blind account, but they take it. And I never speak to any of the people that run the money, but they're at big institutions, and they invest in whatever they invest in.
Critics say you're profiting off the presidency.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's profiting. If you have a 401k, how's your 401k done? It's about up 85%. Thank you, President Trump. So we're all profiting. I'm profiting because I have a lot of money and a lot of cash, and I give it to institutions. I don't know if they know what they're doing or not, but they buy a vast array of things.
With Secretary Hexat and General Kane.
So there you go. That was President Trump on all of this, noting that, quote, we're all profiting. He says, well, the economy is just doing so well, and that is why we're all profiting, pointing to reporters that 401ks are going up. But what is notable, and as I was watching, headlines this morning, is it is just about 50% of Americans that have 401ks. So that is so interesting. And $2 billion is quite insane. And I think the reporters just pressed him simply. It's because you are kind of flexing that you're making a lot of money. You're making over $2 billion, but some Americans can't even make it to their job because they can't afford these gas prices. Of course, they have since come down. I'll note that since the Iran war, and we're actually going to get to that here in just a few moments. But first, before we do that, I want to get to this analysis from MS Now from earlier today. Take a listen.
Our heads around whether it's Kayla's reporting or just the massive amounts of cash flowing directly into this Oval Office.
Well, we've never seen anything like this in history. We've never seen the kind of money, the scale, the scope of the profiteering off of the Oval Office that we're seeing now. Other presidents and their families at times, of course, have had, relatively modest by comparison, conflicts of interest, right? We go back in history. We can find plenty of examples. Most recently, Hunter Biden, which of course the Trumps made such a big deal out of. Hunter got a few $1 million from Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company. Here we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars really going into the Trump family coffers and the coffers of his friends and their families. And it's not even, it's not even subtle. There's nothing small about it. And I think that as a matter of appearances, at the very least, people are going to ask the question, why is the president getting so rich when everybody else is having so much trouble affording the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of groceries, and so on?
Yeah, so there you go. That's that MS Now analysis from this morning. Why the president, I think that's a great question. The question now here, why is the president getting so rich when people can barely afford groceries? People can barely afford to go out and buy groceries. And of course, that's a notable here. And I think it's something to just kind of keep in the back of your mind as we continue through this president's administration. Now, presidential wealth historian Megan Gorman, she told the New York Times, this situation, quote, is completely unprecedented, calling it, quote, a betrayal of the American social contract, that those who lead the country prioritize country over self, unquote. Now, the numbers are made all more striking by what happened to everyday investors on the other side of those deals. Now, what's notable here again, while Trump pocketed $2.2 billion, his crypto investors collectively lost an equivalent amount when both the Trump meme coin and the World Liberty financial token sharply declined in value after their initial sales. The disclosure also confirms Trump is the first U.S. president to refuse to release his tax returns and secured an unprecedented tax immunity deal in exchange for dropping a $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS, meaning we may never know how much of that $2.2 billion was actually paid in taxes. That's the interesting part about all of this, and that is what makes myself so much more interested, but makes this all so much more just starking, and makes not only this presidency so much more rare, and as we continue to talk about it here. So this presidency is unprecedented, to put it lightly, and just $2.2 billion is starking. It is damning to hear, and we will follow it so closely here at Brookland News. You will know the changes here. And of course, again, the president has refused to release his tax report, essentially release how much he really did pay in taxes. So back when that $10 billion, million, I believe, let me reread my notes here. Yeah, $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS was dropped. Remember, it was going to be this whole fund for people that Trump was going to give that money to people. The DOJ was going to give money to that people who were wrongly done by the DOJ. Todd Blanche didn't want to drop it, but he ultimately ended up dropping the fund. So, of course, something to follow there. He dropped it. Now he doesn't have to release the latest in his taxes. So it is going to be something to talk about there. Let's take you right now to the latest on the war in Iran. We know that U.S. envoys Jared Kushner, who's also the son-in-law of the president, and Steve Witkoff met with Qatar's prime minister in Doha this week. Let's take you right now, full screen, a live look at the White House, again meeting with the prime minister of Qatar, in Doha this week to discuss the stalled Iran peace process. But there was still no direct meetings with Iranian officials, so these were essentially indirect conversations. Iran sent a technical team to discuss the release of $6 billion in frozen funds, but had refused political talks until the U.S. implements what was already agreed to in the June 17th Memorandum of Understanding. Tehran's top negotiator was blunt. Quote, Iran is currently not negotiating with the United States at all. Qatar's foreign ministry, however, said, quote, positive progress was made. Here's the president talking about this on the tarmac of Joint Base Andrews yesterday. Take a listen.
Things are going. The denuclearization of Iran is moving along well. They've had very good meetings, and we'll see. We hit them very hard for 3 nights, as you know. But we're getting along very well, so I call it the denuclearization. And it's all taking place, it's all going well. The stock market is setting records virtually every day. The oil price is way down. We're down at 68. I see it hit 68 today. That's lower than when I started the, I guess you could call it an attack on Iran so that they never have a nuclear weapon. So the oil price is now lower. The retail prices, the gasoline is coming down rapidly. And if you have any questions, let's go.
Yeah, so the president there says gas prices are coming down rapidly, but reporting has revealed that the president is actually flustered. He's furious. Gas prices aren't falling fast enough. In a Truth Social post this week, again, I'm reading from my notes, the president demanded retailers lower prices immediately, targeting $2.50 a gallon. The president, again, demanding this and warning of, quote, big problems if they don't, again, hit $2.50 a gallon. He also directed the Department of Justice to investigate oil companies for what he called oil gouging. Energy experts push back, saying it can take weeks or months for lower crude costs to reach the pump. Now let's take a look right now. It's something we have done pretty much every edition of Brooklyn News Live since the start of this war. Take a look at your average fuel prices. $3.83 is today's average across the nation. $3.42 in Arkansas. Yesterday, $3.84 across the nation. $3.32 in Jonesboro. I'll tell you, I've seen low $3 here, not quite $2.50 like the president is wanting, but low $3 as I've traveled through Arkansas. So again, notable here to see that gas prices are falling, of course, significantly since the start of this war, but of course they are not to pre-war levels. Not only that, they are not towards, pre-Biden era levels. Or if you remember, the president has criticized Biden for the draining of the oil reserves, but yet we have seen that the president has done quite similar things, draining it to levels beyond Biden levels, lower than Biden levels, which of course has drawn criticism from Democrats and kind of, maybe why do you have so many double standards to the president? It's going to be something that we are going to watch here at Brooklyn News and follow the gas prices, as again, we have done every day since the beginning of all of this. Already want to take you back out live to the White House because there is another big story we are tracking right now from the White House. This one on the USMCA trade deal. The Trump administration pulled the plug on the USMCA trade deal yesterday, exactly 6 years to the day after it took effect, refusing to renew the agreement that governs nearly $2 trillion in annual trade between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer announced the decision in a terse statement, quote, the United States did not agree to renew the USMCA in its current form. As a result, the USMCA is not renewed. Trump had soared on the deal he himself negotiated and signed during his first term, saying earlier this year, quote, I don't know what I'm going to do I don't know that I'm going to renew it. We don't need anything that Canada or Mexico has, but they need everything that we have. His chief complaint here, large and growing trade deficits with both countries, $197 billion with Mexico and significant surpluses with Canada, as well as Chinese goods quietly routing through Mexico into the U.S. Now, the good news now to watch out for here is that the USMCA remains in force. Nothing changes at the border today, but the non-renewal triggers a decade-long clock of annual reviews that could eventually lead to the deal expiring. It's set to expire in 2036. Now, if no new agreement is reached, the Trump administration says it will pursue separate bilateral deals with Mexico and Canada up to 10 years each rather than a single trilateral agreement. A third round of U.S.-Mexico talks is already scheduled for the week of July 20th, but the U.S. and Canada have not even begun formal negotiations yet. Economists warn that if the USMCA protections were ever fully stripped away, tariffs could rise by an average of 7.4% on food products and costing U.S. households an estimated $300 more per year in groceries. And here in Arkansas, the stakes cannot be higher as we talk about farmers in Arkansas. Let's get you to a live look right now at traffic in Brookland. There you can see, of course, fields there far in the distance. The stakes, again, could not be higher simply because Arkansas is the 14th largest agricultural exporting state in the country, shipping $4.1 billion in farm products abroad in 2024, and Canada and Mexico are two of the biggest buyers of those goods here. The Jonesboro Metro alone recorded $298 million in goods exports in 2024. That is 50 cents of every dollar in Arkansas good exports going to free trade agreement partners like Canada and Mexico. Now, for Northeast Arkansas farmers who grow rice, soybeans, cotton, corn, all of that, those crops that flow heavily into North America supply chains, any erosion of duty-free access to those markets could be devastating. The University of Arkansas's National Agricultural Law Center is already monitoring this situation closely, with Director Harrison Pittman noting that what happens next in negotiations, quote, will be the focus of attention for weeks and months to come. I mean, guys, we cannot put it enough. We have talked so closely here, not necessarily on this show, but I know I focus on my coverage for Big Crowd Media Productions on farmers. Farmers in Arkansas are already struggling. And as I read a few moments ago, I'll have to get the exact number pulled up for you. I believe it was just above 7% that we could see. Yes, 7.4% is how much percentage that tariffs could rise on food products. That means prices that everyday consumers like myself and likely you are paying for each day could go up. So again, this is so important. The USMCA is so important. It doesn't go out until 2036. Could there be separate agreements that are similar to this? Absolutely. And that is something that was noted in all of this by the U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer. That's something that was noted that this could go forward. It's just that right now the current deal has not been signed, and that negotiations will begin again. So this is again a big story that we are following right now. Okay, still to come right here on Brookland News Live, we will take you into a look at your forecast. An extreme heat warning in place right now. Not only that, Wall Street just wrapped up its best quarter in 6 years. The numbers are staggering. We'll bring you that. And the future of press at the Pentagon. The latest on the rulings we are getting in and what a judge has just said. Coming up on this Thursday edition of Brookland News Live. Stick with us. Welcome back here to Brookland News Live, a live look in New York City at Madison Square Garden. And if you are a Taylor Swift fan, you likely may already know what's happening here. We've still got that coming up for you. We will bring you what is happening at Madison Square Garden, or what is predicted to happen at least at Madison Square Garden, coming up here in just a few moments. So stick with us for that. We do want to take you though right now to one of our few other live feeds that we are tracking right now. This is right now in Brookland. 2:43 p.m. is the time now, and it is hot. I'll just tell you that. Let me actually pull up the exact numbers of the feels like temperature right now. Give me 1 second. I just opened up my phone here. I wonder if I'm actually able. 1 second. I will fix this for you so you guys are able to see me and what's going on in Brookland. So hold with me here. This is why sometimes it takes me so much time to switch different feeds and pull them up for you. Here we go. 1 second. We're going to get it. Boom. Alrighty. Here we go. Right now in Brooklyn. Okay, it is extremely hot. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out. It feels like 98, but it is actually 93 degrees. It just shows you how hot it is. And we are just about at the peak of the day. Temperatures in some places, the feels like at least, could go up into the hundreds. Of course, we're likely going to see this again sometime this summer. You guys know how Arkansas summers work. So again, just to put it in play here, it has been so hot outside these last few days. I'll tell you, I drive an older car and it cannot keep up. The air cannot keep up with the 100+ degree feels like temperatures, and simply put it, how hot it is outside. So I do want to get a look at your forecast here. Hold one moment here. We'll get it pulled up for you. Here we go. This is what things look like right now. 78 degrees. It's going to be mostly sunny, as you see, throughout the day, but there is a possibility of a few kind of pop-up showers as we go into the evening. So that's going to be something to watch out for. I don't think you'll need like an umbrella or anything. I think, it's just going to be a few pop-up storms, but it's going to be something to watch for. Until the end of today, an extreme heat warning is in effect right now, so that is going to be something to watch here. Friday, high of 94. Saturday, I should say low of 77. Cloudy skies continue into Friday. Then by Saturday, we could see a few afternoon storms, of course, as it's still kind of a little bit early in the predictions, but storms predicted on Saturday in the afternoon. High of 93, low of 76, so watch out for that as well. We're going to keep our eye peeled towards all of this and everything going on right now in Brooklyn. We will keep our eyes peeled toward. Okay, what I want to do for you right now is take you to a live look in Dallas, Texas, another place that is experiencing, well, these extreme temperatures. A live look right now, 2:45 p.m. Central Time. This is in downtown Dallas from KDFW. Hot. Cannot put it enough. How hot it is. It's not only in Northeast Arkansas, but also in throughout the South. Okay, now that's the story we wanted to talk about there, about the extreme heat. We'll get to more of that later, but that there will be a convention, GOP midterm convention in Dallas. President Trump took to Truth Social Tuesday evening to announce that the Republican Party will hold its first ever midterm convention in Dallas, Texas. This will come later this year on September 9th, and Tim, he wrote on Truth Social, quote, "Big news, for the first time ever, the Republican Party will hold a midterm convention. It has never been done before and will be truly a historic event," unquote. Trump described the two-day gathering as a, quote, rally like none other that will celebrate what he calls the, quote, great American comeback and spotlight first responders, innovators, entrepreneurs, job creators, along with, quote, lots of great entertainment. Republican National Committee Chair Joe Grutters called it, quote, a Trumpalooza that will showcase the American first agenda. The timing is no accident with November midterms approaching here. So again, that is set to happen in Dallas, and something that we will be monitoring. And likely, I mean, if it comes, a live feed will likely come out of it. If it comes during our time on air, if we need to break in for any type of special reports, you guys know we will. Alrighty, and happening now, this was released, the Wall Street capping its best quarter in 6 years. The numbers here are staggering. The S&P 500 surged 14.9% in the second quarter of 2026. The Nasdaq exploded 21.4%, its biggest quarterly gain since the pandemic rebound back in 2020. And the Dow Jones closed above 52,000 for the first time in history, finishing Tuesday at 52,319. Now, the small cap Russell 2000 soared more than 21% in the first half of the year. This is the best first half performance since 1991. The rally largely driven, I should say, by a historic run in the semiconductor and chip stocks, renewed investor optimism that the Iran war is nearing a resolution. That also likely a big driver. Of course, every time the president has made an announcement on anything about the Iran war, it has been a big driver of the stocks. So we will watch that and the future of where things stand with that. Okay, when I get to this story out of the Pentagon, this one is an interesting one, and it is yet one of these other stories that have been developing for so long. A look, you can hear the drone there, a look at the Pentagon from a drone there, a judge making an announcement ordering rather that the Pentagon must temporarily lift its policy requiring journalists to be accompanied by an official escort inside the building. This is yet another legal setback to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's aggressive campaign to restrict media access. U.S. District Judge Paul Friedman in Washington ruled Tuesday that the escort policy violates the First Amendment, issuing a preliminary injunction, while the New York Times' lawsuit against loud noise there playing in the background of this footage that we're getting from the Pentagon, but the judge there ruled Tuesday that the escort policy violates the First Amendment, issuing a preliminary injunction. Again, the New York Times lawsuit against the Pentagon continues. Quote, those who drafted the First Amendment believe that the nation's security requires a free press and informed people, and that such security is endangered by governmental suppression of political speech, Friedman wrote. The fight has been building for months. The Times were sued in December after Hegseth imposed restrictions limiting media access to the Pentagon. Now that came, if you remember, here, and excuse the loud beeping in the background. I apologize about that. My dog is barking there in the distance. But this goes back to the policy that the Pentagon put in place, essentially requiring there be a signing of a document that essentially says we have to review anything you release about the Pentagon before you actually release it. Of course, not quite how the free press works. Alrighty, 2:50 is the time now here in Brookland. We will be right back with more of the big headlines. We are going to talk all about the 4th of July coming up next. We will not be here on Friday, so we're going to go ahead and give you a preview of what's going on throughout Northeast Arkansas this weekend, events to attend. Not only that, how to stay safe and this dangerous heat that we are experiencing. Brookland News Live returns right after this. And welcome back here into Brookland News Live. A live look there in Brookland. Some extreme heat right now in Brookland. That is one thing for sure, and it is only expected to continue. Northeast Arkansas, well, to be honest, it's baking this week under a dangerous heat event. The National Weather Service is already forecasting high temperatures near 97 degrees and heat index values, so like the feels like temperatures climbing as high as 109 degrees in Brookland and throughout, of course, Northeast Arkansas. The National Weather Service now urging people to drink plenty of fluids, stay in air-conditioned spaces. Of course, what we're doing. If I could be assigned for a broadcast, I probably would. I'd probably just have fans, but my equipment literally could not stand it. Now, if you need a place rather to cool down, the city of Jonesboro has 4 free cooling centers open this week. The Oral Bell Community Center at 1212 South Church Street and the Jonesboro Youth Community Center at 1421 West Nettleton Avenue, and they are all open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The Allen Park Community Center is at 3069 Race Street. The Parker Community Center at 1506 North Church Street. They are open Monday through Friday from noon to 9 p.m. All 4 locations are open Saturday from noon to 5 p.m. Now, GOJO, the city's public transit, formerly known as JET, is providing free rides to any cooling centers this week. And for anyone who needs an overnight option, the Jonesboro Salvation Army is located at 800 K Avenue and is open as an overnight cooling shelter. Free rides are offered to there as well. So a story to monitor here and that we will follow. Of course, the dangerous heat throughout Northeast Arkansas, just continuing. Well, a piece of American history flew right over our heads Wednesday afternoon. An Arkansas Air National Guard C-130 Hercules transport aircraft made a low pass over downtown Jonesboro, lighting downtown Jonesboro. Excuse me here. You were taking a look at it there. The moments there from the Craighead County Office of Emergency Management camera. You'll see the flight over there in just one moment. This came in Jonesboro around 2 p.m. as part of the statewide American 250 celebration, marking the nation's 250th birthday, just ahead of the 4th of July holiday. The flyover was one of several planned across Arkansas this week as communities across the state joined the national salute to 250 years of American independence. If you missed it or if you got it on your phone, we want to see your footage. You can send it to us via email or tag us on social media. So, you could do that for us. Again, the National Markage and the National, Guard flyover, marking America's 250th birthday. Alrighty, want to show you some video, some fireworks here as we wrap our show up on this busy day. As I was preparing, I was thinking, okay, we're not going to have too much going on. It's going to be okay, but that is quite the opposite. All right, some fireworks there from our file that we pulled together for you as Northeast Arkansas is gearing up for one of the biggest 4th of July celebrations in regional history. And this year it is special because America turns 250. The headliner is Freedom Fest, and for the first time ever, it is moving from its longtime home at the Southside Softball Complex to the Arkansas State University. I believe some of this footage is actually from the Softball Complex. The American 250 Freedom Fest kicks off at 4 p.m. on Saturday with a free show and shine car display outside First National Bank Arena, featuring classic cars, trucks, jeeps, motorcycles, race cars, and specialty vehicles inside the arena. Now, there's also going to be an America 250, inside the arena, an American 250 cornhole tournament. Sorry, lost my place on my notes here. That will get underway for cash prizes. That comes at 7 p.m. The Delta Symphony Orchestra will perform its Independence Day concert at the Fowler Center. Then at 9:30 p.m., the biggest Freedom Fest fireworks show in the event's history is set to begin. There are several other events going on. Go to social media, you will find them. There's so many fireworks events. Again, just those big two that we will follow there. Okay, we are going to wrap things up. It looks like there we go. Sorry about that. It looks like that video had come to an end. I thought I had it set up where it was going to loop. Alrighty, that wraps up our coverage here on this busy Thursday. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can follow us. You can follow us on all of our social media pages. They've been scrolling on the bottom of your screen there. And here we go, Thursday, July 2nd. I hope you guys enjoyed our new graphics that are here. You can see there, Thursday, July 2nd, 2026. We're going to be back here on Monday with the latest headlines. Join us then at 2 p.m. That wraps us up for this Thursday. Again, follow us on social media. Stay up to date. We're back on Monday.